Starting out on a high note in Colorado, the first recreational marijuana stores in the U.S. opening this morning in Denver.
With roughly a dozen strains with names like Blue Dream, Ogre, and Tahoe Triangle. Workers at Medicine Man spent time explaining the type of weed and price.
We are told from pot shop owners that they think they made more than $1 million on day one alone.
We're at a hotel, so we're just going to go hang out and get high.
All right, those are examples of how the news media is covering the marijuana story, either joking about it or marveling about the sales figures. All right, fine. Look, on most things, I'm usually a free market, free choice guy. But on this one, I just want to say emphatically, caveat emptor. There are potentially serious addiction and mental health dangers here. Many people will be unable to control a new habit like this. It could all do great damage to themselves and the rest of society. So I'd like a little sober analysis of legalizing pot. Let's discuss it. We welcome former Congressman Patrick Kennedy. He was a former House member from Rhode Island, and Andrew Spanswick, CEO of Klean Treatment Centers, and Danny Danko, senior cultivation editor at High Times Magazine. All right. Patrick Kennedy, welcome to the show. We appreciate your time very much. With God's grace, I'm 18 and a half years clean and sober. I still this day go to a lot of 12-step meetings. Here's one of my issues with this whole story. I hear, Patrick, young people coming into the rooms who say they started on grass, harmless enough, and then go on because it's a gateway drug. Any counselor will tell you it's a gateway drug, and they do harder stuff, cocaine, heroin, or whatever. Some people can control that. Some people can control alcohol, Patrick. I'm not one of them, and I hope these young kids getting high on marijuana now understand that.
Well, Larry, I'm with you. I'm not one of those people either. I'm also in recovery, and I would say that some people dismiss the harm of marijuana because it doesn't have the kind of immediate destructive impact that maybe heroin or cocaine or some of these other drugs, even alcohol, has. But as you and I know, the biggest enemy is denial. The insidiousness of marijuana as a drug is that it's going to take you to the same place as alcohol, heroin, cocaine. It's just going to take maybe longer, but you're still on a train to nowhere. And what I worry about as a nation is, are we going to create a whole new generation of people who think the perception of harm towards marijuana is so reduced because of this notion that it's medical and it's good for you, and now it's legal. And, you know, Larry, we know the experience of tobacco, cigarettes. When there was a for-profit motive by the tobacco companies, who did they go after? Well, Joe Camel, they went after kids. Yep. And the same thing with the alcohol industry, Larry. It's no secret that they look for new consumers. And if you see the $1 million they made today, just imagine what they're going to start doing once they have a real corporate interest. And I appreciate your caveat at the beginning of this as a free market guy. Yeah. This is not about the free market. Right. This is about addicting more and more people who are going to be consumers, and it's really about the society as a whole paying the price for that down the road, Larry, and higher hospitalization rates, and frankly, in education. Let me get to and so forth.
Andrew Spanswick, I'm told you run a string of treatment centers, and yes, I think that's great. All right, I myself, you know, I got sober up at Hazleton many years ago. God bless them all. But look. I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional. I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug abuser. I'm not a professional. But as I said at the top, most of the young kids coming into the AA rooms, the 12-step rooms, you know, started on grass and went to bigger things. Most counselors, now this, you may disagree with this, but most professional counselors, you know, people that are trained and educated in this field, regard marijuana, grass, as a gate opener, as a gateway to larger drugs. What's your take on that? And all I'm saying, I can't stop this. I don't want to stop this. It's not my mission. All I'm saying is, can we educate? Can we warn that a lot of people will never be able to control this?
Well, first, I think you're absolutely right that most counselors believe that marijuana is the gateway drug. Ironically, I think it's because they overlook the legalization of alcohol and tobacco, which really are truly the largest gateway drugs and cause the most damage in our society. If we were really concerned about public health overall, we would ban cigarettes tomorrow with 450,000 people dying annually from tobacco and nicotine. We don't do that. We've made a decision as a society that we want to allow tobacco, and there's certain freedoms that we want to allow. Is marijuana something that we should allow into our society? I argue that right now pretty much everybody that wants to smoke marijuana can get it easily and readily. We've criminalized it, and in doing so we've criminalized people who suffer from mental health issues and self-medicate with marijuana. We've deinstitutionalized the state prisons, the state mental hospitals, and now we see the same number of people that used to be under psychiatric care in prisons with very little psychiatric care. So this concerns me more than just, say, the issue of marijuana.
Right.
I would much rather see us legalize it, regulate it, control the rates of the addictive substances such as THC in it. Right now it's unregulated, and the money, we don't know where it's going. And largely, it just seems to be more of a blight on our society than if we were to regulate it.
All right, Danny Danko, welcome to the show. Look, I can't stop it. My intention here is not to stop it, okay? I'm powerless over that kind of thing. But what I'm interested in is the kind of, I'm going to call them educational warnings that we're hearing from Congressman Kennedy, we're hearing from Andrew Spanswick, and others. And I know you're an advocate of legalization. What is your reaction to some of the things that we are saying?
Well, first of all, I'd like to applaud you guys on your sobriety. I would also say that there is, the vast majority of marijuana users are responsible users, and just as there is with alcohol, there is, many people who use it very responsibly. So that's the one side. Also, the prohibition of marijuana hasn't worked. People's homes are being raided. People are being killed in no-knock raids. People's dogs are being shot. They're being separated from their families. They can't get jobs. They have trouble adopting children. There's all of these ancillary things that come with this drug war that are far more harmful than any usage of marijuana. And that's happening in states all around the country. So while we applaud Colorado for coming up with a reasonable program where they are taxing and regulating marijuana sales, making it tougher for children to get marijuana and making that money, which used to go God knows where, now pay taxes into education and other types of things.
I hope that's right. I mean, Congressman Kennedy, do you think the criminal element will be taken out here?
My worry is that we're not talking about the facts here, and both your other guests should know that when you legalize something, the rate of usage will skyrocket. And that's a fact. So this notion that there's nothing harmful in legalizing is just doesn't face the facts here. And the facts are, when you legalize, you say it's okay, more people are going to use. We're already seeing the surveys of the future. More of our teenagers are using marijuana, and it's because they don't perceive it as harmful and because it's even more easy to access. So my point, Larry, is, when you have a larger population using it, you're going to have larger adverse consequences. And I think that is a big price to pay for some of the benefits that your guests say we're going to get from it. And so I would just say we really need to get the facts out there. Though there's a big disconnect between what the science tells us and what the public understanding of this drug is.
And how it's being reported. No, those are great points. I just, my wish is that we get this educational information out, that people, particularly the kids, understand what the addiction threats are, how easy it is to get hooked on this, on various gateway drug that are tougher than marijuana, just so they know. Just so they know, because a lot of people can't control any of this stuff. They ought to know that those threats exist. Anyway, Patrick Kennedy, it's great to see you. I appreciate you very much. Mr. Spanswick, Andrew Spanswick, thank you. Danny Danko, I appreciate your point of view very much. Now, folks, we're going to switch gears.